What's up everyone, today we're going to be checking out some kick-ass movie poster art. More specifically, we'll be ranking the theatrical movie posters from the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. These posters were hand-painted by artist Matthew Joseph Peak. Among horror fans, Matthew's posters are widely considered the best of the genre. They're as iconic and memorable as the movies themselves. Cool side note, being an artist ran in a family. Matthew's father, Bob Peak, was the celebrated illustrator and poster designer for many big films. He was a legend in the movie industry. Matthew Peak only created theatrical posters for the first 5 Nightmare movies. He didn't create one for the final movie, Freddy's Dead. However, he did create art for that movie, which was used for the instrumental score. I'm gonna bend the rules a bit and swap in that art just to be consistent, meaning we'll be ranking 6 of Matthew's posters in total. No disrespect though to the actual theatrical poster for Freddy's Dead, I'm a fan of that one as well. Anyway, let's get to it. I'll work my way up to my favorite. Number 6 on my list is the poster for A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, from 1985. This is a very ominous poster. It captures the insane sense of dread often present in nightmares. Conspicuously missing from this poster is the man himself, Freddy. Instead, we get Jesse and Lisa, the stars of the movie. Now to be fair, Jesse's character was featured very prominently. He carried the movie, and he went through hell and back.
Jesse, we got special work to do here, you and me.
Most people nowadays view Freddy's Revenge as a deep dive into homoerotic subtext, but I'm not sure that interpretation is apparent in this poster. Either way, Jesse's struggle with his identity is represented very clearly in that horrific reflection. Look at that, that's gross. Anyway, if you're wondering where the hell Freddy is, in the 2010 documentary Never Sleep Again, Matthew Peak mentioned that he rarely received direction regarding the production of these posters. That creative freedom may be the reason why the posters for the first 2 movies were more abstract and didn't feature Freddy. As time went on though, and Freddy emerged as a twisted 1980s pop culture icon, we got way more of him. Not only in posters, but in countless forms of promotion and merchandise.
No, please! No.
Number 5 on my list is the poster for Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, from 1991. This is the artwork I mentioned earlier, which was technically only used for the Brian May instrumental score, not the theatrical poster. Again, I do like the theatrical poster. It obviously plays up the 3D aspect, and it's cool in its own right. I'd even say it's tied with Matthew's version. In comparison, Matthew Peak's art doesn't necessarily match the tone of the movie. Even though Matthew's art is consistent with his previous posters in the series, it doesn't exactly work for the 3D schlockfest, Freddy's Dead. You see, by this late point in the series, Freddy was known for dark one-liners and over-the-top kills. People weren't really scared of him, instead they rooted for him. Kids even dressed up as Freddy for Halloween. I should know, I was one of them.
Oh, my favorite.
No, come on, no!
Eeny, meeny, miny.
Number 4 on my list, appropriately enough, is A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, from 1988. This is another great one. It's obviously a lot less abstract than the earlier posters in the series. We see Freddy looking gruesome as ever, but we also get a nice stylized take on the setting of his rebirth, the junkyard. I'm guessing the eyes belong to the new protagonist, Alice. In terms of composition, our hero is surrounded by Freddy. Up top, we see Freddy looking as nasty as ever. Down below, we see Freddy's iconic claws ripping through the soil. And in the middle, trapped, we see the foggy essence of Alice. At first glance, I actually thought Freddy was tearing away his own face. However, I think those hands probably belong to the spirits of Freddy's victims, fighting back just as we see in the movie, which was a key moment that really stood out.
Yes, Super Freddy! Told ya, comic books was bad for ya!
Number 3 on my list is the poster for A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, from 1989. Now this may be one of my least favorite movies in the entire franchise. However, the poster ranks pretty high on my list. The visual here is pretty creepy. Considering the fact that Freddy began his murderous career as a child killer, the dynamic of him anywhere near a baby is just disturbing. Freddy seems to be protecting a child in a stroller, or at least, him protecting a child was the intention of the artist who stated as such on his website. Matthew Peak also mentioned that the original version of this poster depicted Freddy watching over his dream child, but in fetus form. That version of the poster, which I think is even better, only ran in a few magazines. Apparently, the MPA made New Line Cinema replace the fetus with the stroller. Maybe they thought the imagery of the fetus would be too controversial. Anyway, if you look closely, there's some ghostly floating heads which look similar to the ancient dream demons seen in the next movie, Freddy's Dead. The demons in question gave Freddy the power to become an immortal boogeyman, but this poster actually wasn't the first instance of those ghostly heads. We'll get to that later. Number 2 on my list, the poster for A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors from 1987. From what I've seen online, this poster is many people's favorites. The movie itself is also considered by many to be the best in the franchise. This poster is awesome. One cool thing to note, this poster actually started the trend for the next 2 posters in terms of layout. In part 3, 4, and 5, Freddy was depicted larger than life and looming overhead. His claws were seen at the bottom, and some variation of our protagonist was seen caught in the middle. It's a strong layout. I understand why it was reused. Freddy's actually pretty outnumbered here as the Dream Warriors all head into battle wielding deadly weapons, yet I still feel like they're doomed. There's just something about that giant gruesome face. Sure, you can beat the fuck out of Freddy, but he always seems to come out on top. One subtle thing I also like is the callback to the house from the previous movies. This was fitting, considering the fact that we see a model of the home featured prominently in the movie, but it's also a great tie to the character of Nancy, who made her return in the movie.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
Speaking of Nancy, number 1 on my list is the poster for A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984. Everything about this screams classic horror. The poster pretty much embodies the entire series. Monster versus Dreamer. Nancy, our hero, looks terrified. She almost seems to have sleep paralysis, unable to move or speak. She's experiencing the ultimate nightmare, a monster's sick invasion into her most personal space. The invasion, of course, is taken to the next level because her waking world is also breached, so Nancy's in serious physical danger as well. Now, I know that doesn't necessarily look like Freddy, but it's very clearly an evil presence, and that's all that's needed to get the point across here. Also of note, there goes one of those little dream demons again, hidden in the shadows. So as it turns out, Matthew Peak was hiding these little demons since the very beginning. Like most art, this poster and the movie are open to interpretation. Some regard the original Nightmare on Elm Street movie in the same manner as slashers of its time, meaning it was just another cautionary tale about the dangers of teen sex. Others think the movie is a surreal story which relates to faith and religion. Film historians tend to stick to the basics, meaning the movie's like a deep dive into the murky struggle between dreams and reality. In any case, feel free to go ahead and project whatever meaning you want. In my view, this poster syncs perfectly with Wes Craven's classic film. It's my number 1. Now, in the interest of being thorough, I also wanted to include 2 other Nightmare on Elm Street pieces by Matthew Peak. These weren't in my ranking. First up is his artwork for the 2010 documentary Never Sleep Again, which was actually pretty awesome. But I also wanted to show his other Freddy's Dead poster, which was an exclusive created for Bottleneck Gallery. In comparison to his original Freddy's Dead art, this one definitely fits the tone of the movie a lot more. The references to the 3D gimmick and the Dream Demons definitely put it over the top. When it comes to the Nightmare on Elm Street movie posters, I only talked about the American theatrical versions as illustrated by Matthew Peak. However, there's tons of completely different Nightmare on Elm Street posters floating around. Some were used for international releases, some were used for home releases. There's also alternate versions, then there's everything in between. Now these posters are all pretty cool. They're pretty interesting. Some of them are just batshit insane. Before I go, I'll just ask, which was your favorite movie poster from the series? Feel free to comment below, and don't forget to like and sub. I really appreciate it. Sleep well.